Hello and happy holidays. I'm JD from LearnGeek and Exonify, and I am about to be totally wrong. Well, maybe not totally wrong, but I'm certainly not going to be totally right either. You see, this is that time of year when everyone tries to generate clicks by predicting what's going to happen in their fields next year. You've got articles and podcasts and webinars and singing telegrams, and they all want to tell you what you need to be prepared for in 2025. And they totally don't want to sell you any kinds of products or services at the same time. And since I hate feeling left out, I also do an annual predictions video. But before we talk about any must-watch topics for 2025, let's take a quick look back at my predictions for 2024 and see just how accurate I was when it comes to what I thought would happen this year. First off, I said that workplace learning was going to get crunched by a continued focus on productivity, resulting in less time for focused development. Now, this wasn't exactly a new challenge, but I definitely think I got this one right. Time is getting harder and harder to find as organizations chop labor hours and focus on maximizing their payroll spend. This means L&D is going to need to rely on more workflow-friendly approaches and justify any time out of the operation moving forward. With prediction number 2 for 2024, I talked about AI and shifting from experimentation to value add with new applications and business models and emerging capabilities as a result of continued AI investment. And I'm going to count this one as a half correct. You see, AI adoption isn't moving as quickly as many people first assumed, but the focus, the investment, the conversation is still there. And it's an undeniable force when it comes to changing the workplace. And we're definitely going to talk more about AI when we get to 2025 predictions. Now, my third prediction was remote work and the fact that it was going to continue to fade. And again, totally correct. The return to office shift is very real, and it's just going to keep growing no matter what the data says. So L&D teams need to get really good at supporting hybrid teams moving forward. Prediction 5 was about shifting from programs to systems, going beyond courses to fit learning and support into the workflow. And I'm going to give myself a half correct on this one because this shift is slow going, but there's no doubt that disruption-free support is very much the future of workplace learning and development. Of course, we had to have a skills moment in our last predictions video. In this case, I hypothesized that organizations were going to invest more this year into focused skill building programs to close especially challenging skill gaps. Now, I didn't see a huge shift in this direction, but there are plenty of organizations leveraging certificate programs and boot camps to build capability while giving employees new opportunities as the impact of AI and automation echo across the business. So this one gets the half correct. And I still think we're going to see more of this kind of work as things get disrupted, as jobs change, and as companies look to shift people around into new opportunities and new roles while maintaining some sense of continuity within the workplace. My sixth prediction for 2024 was about managers, that they finally get the attention that they need and deserve after years of mounting expectations and limited support. And this is an absolute yes in terms of attention, because did we fix our manager problem this year? No, absolutely we did not. We sure talked about them a lot. And I'm going to talk about them more when we get to 2025 predictions. Prediction 7 was about tech consolidation, that we're going to see more categories of tech collapse into unified platforms to simplify user experiences and reduce cost and complexity for businesses who are getting more work done through technology. And this one is a yes. Even my company added more consolidated tools. I saw other learning tech companies out there add communication and operations tools to their suites, and consolidation is going to continue into this next year, and more to come on that one. Prediction 8 was about the noise and how content vendors and analysts and thought leaders and just it's going to get harder and harder to make good decisions and know what's real and what's hype. And I definitely think it did. And I didn't even account when I was talking about the noise. I didn't account for AI generated content, which is making everything that you read online and get in your inbox feel that much less creative and meaningful and authentic. Or is it just me? Anyway, my final prediction for 2024 was about the importance of agility, the need to stick to systems instead of sticking to plans. And I'm going to mark this as a yes, even though it's a pretty evergreen idea. But I do believe that balancing stability, consistency, and innovation is again going to be critical to success moving into 2025. So let's see my overall scorecard for 2024. I think it's pretty solid, to say the least. We've got 6 accurate predictions, 3 pretty close, and nothing that I would say is totally off base. So is that ingenuity or just a lack of imagination on my part? You get to decide. Either way, not too bad. So now that we've looked into the past and learned from our experiences this year, let's look forward and talk about how we can prepare for meaningful shifts that will influence how we work and learn in 2025. And this time around, I have 5 predictions for L&D. Kinda. You see, L&D isn't a standalone function. We can't just decide what's important and what we want to do and what we want to focus on and how we want to do it. Because L&D is a function of the business. We exist within the realities of how work gets done. Therefore, my predictions focus on how shifts in work will influence L&D and how we need to evolve our function as a result of those shifts. And then there's another thing about my 2025 predictions. You're going to notice a bit of a theme. Maybe it's less of a theme and it's a little bit more of a tone. I tend to find that annual predictions get a bit cheery and overly positive, let's say. There's a lot of, this is our year, and it's never been a better time too, and those types of things going on. And I don't do that. First, I think a lot of those types of claims are either just wrong or they're in service of trying to sell you something. Every year can't be our year, right? And I also think this kind of overly cheery approach does a disservice to the people actually doing the work. Because when you have this overly glossy view of reality, it doesn't help people prepare for very real challenges that they're likely to face. I don't want to be all doom and gloom in this video. I do see plenty of potential and opportunities for L&D and HR to make a difference in the months ahead. But I also see a lot of road bumps and obstacles that we have to overcome in order to get to those outcomes. And I think we need to be honest and direct with regards to how these challenges are going to impact us, our work, and the people that we support. And my first prediction is going to be a good example of that. I'm calling it the squeeze. Last year, we had the crunch. This year, we have the squeeze. What the heck is a squeeze? Well, here's the thing. Right now, you see organizations flattening as a result of cost cutting, especially through layoffs and reduced hiring. And it's especially true in middle management. Right now, middle management job openings are down 42% as compared to 2 years ago in 2022, when the push for efficiency really kind of began in earnest. And middle managers also made up 32% of this past year's layoffs. Plus, when you think about it, who's most susceptible to AI-enabled role disruption right now? Middle management. But there's a reason that I called this the squeeze instead of the flattening as a trend. Because as part of this workforce is being reduced, we also see a decline in introductory roles as a result of increased automation and reduced labor spend. Organizations are finding ways to get more done with less people. And whether this results in better customer or employee experiences, that's an entirely different video, an entirely different conversation. But it's certainly happening under the banner of efficiency. So you have less introductory roles, you have less middle management. So the work is getting done by the smaller group of people who are taking on more and more responsibility as organizations literally squeeze as much productivity as possible from people. Now, how does this impact L&D? Well, first of all, the same thing is happening in L&D. This is part of the reason why it's getting harder and harder to find opportunities within the industry. There are less foundational roles to step into, and there are less opportunities to move up within the organization. This means lots of people right now are kind of stuck in place and not necessarily happy about it until the organization relaxes its grip. And when will that happen? We don't know. So in terms of L&D strategy, this means a few different things. First of all, L&D does have less people to support in the story moving forward. And with less introductory roles that we often leverage as developmental opportunities, we need to be able to get people up to speed into more advanced roles with more advanced knowledge and skill more quickly, especially when they're first joining the organization. And then with less middle management opportunities, and then pathways for career development become less about moving up and more about moving sideways into new functions and different types of work if people want mobility. And then that mobility is beneficial to the organization as they open up new doors, create new business models, and leverage technologies in different ways. That means more people are going to be knocking on L&D's door and looking for cross training and reskilling programs. And when we do develop people that are going to move up and they're going to take on new positions, there's potentially going to be a bigger gap between their current role and that next position, meaning they're going to need more support because they're less likely to have learned through experience in doing their previous job. So the squeeze, it's already happening. And I think it's going to intensify under the uncertain economic and political environment that's likely to persist through 2025. And we need to keep this in mind as we develop our plans for our own careers and develop L&D strategies to support people within this shifting organizational structure. And that is what I'm calling the squeeze. Now, I mentioned that AI is part of the squeeze because it's enabling organizations to find new opportunities for efficiency, reduce hiring, and in some cases, replace roles through technology. In fact, 37% of business leaders say AI has already replaced workers. And when people say AI won't take your job, they're right. Because what actually will happen is management will use AI to get the job done in a different way, and that may be with or without you. But AI is still going to be the topic in the workplace in 2025. Global spending on AI is projected to be about $337 billion next year. That's up from $235 billion in 2024. But while the hype continues, and I expect AI to continue to be a dominant conversation, I actually think AI is going to get boring in 2025. Now, don't get me wrong, tech companies are still going to be making big promises when it comes to the potential for AI to transform how we work and live. And your inbox is going to continue to be filled with articles and podcasts and newsletters claiming how everyone else is getting value from AI and you are totally missing out. But instead of these major shifts that we've been looking for over the past 2 years, I expect more organizations and more functions to lean into less exciting, but more meaningful sides of AI. We're going to figure out that the best way to realize the value that we've been talking about around AI is to leave the hype behind and solve timely problems that actually help people do their jobs. For example, I still hear lots of conversation about things like digital avatars and content automation within learning and development. I don't hear nearly as much about topics like language translation or the ability to improve knowledge management or the opportunity to use voice technology to help people who are unable to read or write to engage in learning activities. And these are things we can do right now with existing AI technology. And sure, it's not as exciting as the ability to send an AI version of myself to Zoom meetings, which is totally not something that I'm doing at all. And I do think that we're going to see big ideas around AI come to life over the next few years as the technology evolves alongside the workplace. And that's going to include concepts like deep personalization and digital coaching and those things we're really excited about around the potential for AI. But as the tech improves and our practices evolve, there are plenty of less exciting, but still incredibly meaningful ways that we can apply AI to help people do their jobs more effectively in 2025. And I think that's what we're going to see as a meaningful conversation moving forward through the next couple of months and next year. Let's talk more about tech as part of our next topic. But let's go back in time a little bit to 2024, because I talked about technology in terms of consolidation of the digital experience. And I think that consolidation storyline is going to continue moving forward and again, be part of our AI narrative because more organizations are holding the IT function to account for technology investments. They want to see value. They want to see less redundancy. They want to spend less time and money on administration. They want to reduce risks to the business. And they want to simplify the employee experience so people can focus more on getting the work done and waste less time on digital complexity. For L&D, this means we're going to see additional scrutiny on our technology stack moving forward. Does the company really need 9 different learning platforms? Or rather than buying something new, could we get the same outcomes from the evolving technology set that we're building in the company right now? Or instead of a dedicated system just for learning that maybe employees use once a quarter, once a month, once a year, compliance time, could we leverage a tool that handles more employee needs? So there's learning capability, communication capability, task management, project management capability, workforce management capability, recognition capability. You kind of see where I'm going when it comes to a consolidated experience. And I believe AI will further this consolidation story into next year, especially as agents and agentic AI emerges as a key AI capability in this next phase of the technology. And you're going to start getting calls in L&D from different departments asking how your learning tech can maybe share data with other systems as a way of automating processes. So for example, can the LMS talk to the human capital management platform or the workforce management platform and use data to schedule frontline workers and assign shifts based on things like skills and credentials? Or can an AI agent that's manifesting from your company's digital assistant, can it leverage content from your LMS library to answer employee questions or to make training recommendations on its own? And I fully believe that AI is going to do things like this to transform work. And I think a lot of that's going to come to life through the consolidation of the digital experience of work, where employees get the benefit of a wide range of applications without always having to visit each individual platform. So that's our consolidation story moving into 2025. Now let's talk about the opposite of consolidation, which would be dispersion. In this case, let's talk about outsourcing. I expect outsourcing to be a major L&D trend in 2025. But I'm not talking about the version of outsourcing that you're probably most familiar with. Because yes, more organizations have started to outsource parts of their L&D function, especially when it comes to content development and administration. And that's to third-party teams to improve efficiency and reduce costs. And that's going to continue to happen, especially with organizations that have heavy regulatory requirements or common skill development needs that can be handled by external groups. And some of this outsourcing will be directed towards third-party content libraries, especially as AI-enabled tools allow for accelerated content development and also rapid customization to meet your particular needs. But I also expect plenty of outsourcing activity to actually happen within the four walls of your organization. Because remember, L&D doesn't own workplace information. And we're not the only team with access to new technology. Your stakeholders are using AI. Your subject matter experts are using AI. Your IT function is using AI to build a digital assistant for all of your employees right now. And these tools will fundamentally shift how information moves across the business. And that includes what we would typically call training. So instead of always coming to L&D, or usually coming to L&D, SMEs can now develop their own material, often faster than L&D, and even deploy it directly towards employees. Or instead of asking L&D to do something like build a job aid, a stakeholder can just take the raw information, like a standard operating procedure or product specs, make that available to the company chatbot, and then that's going to serve it up on demand for employees in the format that they need. So will all of this content be developed to the same level of quality as content built by L&D? No. But that's not the bar by which progress is going to be measured, because if things can happen faster and cheaper and at 70% of the quality, people are going to do it. And I believe L&D needs to be on board. We can't fight this kind of progress by trying to wrap our arms around learning, because we never owned learning in the first place. And we shouldn't wait around for others to discover how they can leverage technology to take more ownership over their own content and materials. Instead, L&D has to shift from developer to enabler and outsource parts of our own function, whether it be parts of content development or reporting or training delivery, where it makes sense for the benefit of the people we're trying to help and the organization. And then we can apply our know-how to make sure it's done right, and that people aren't just grabbing at tools and trying their best without our specialized knowledge. And then we can take our unique skills and our limited resources and focus that on the challenges that require more complex solutions. And overall, make sure that more people get help, more problems get addressed, and the right problems get addressed the right way. So rather than allowing ourselves to be disrupted, L&D has to actively explore opportunities to evolve the function and deliver value in new ways in 2025, thereby disrupting ourselves. Now, there is one group with my last prediction for 2025 that I want to zoom in on again, because they're in need of some major positive disruption. Managers. If you know anything about me, you knew I was going to talk about managers. We already talked about reductions taking place in middle management. And a flatter organization tends to mean that more pressure gets piled onto the remaining management team, who are expected to handle larger teams and heavier workloads. And if you look at frontline management, they're spending more time in the operation, often filling staffing gaps due to reductions in labor budgets while still trying their best to run the operation and lead their teams. And I declared 2024 to be the year of the manager in hopes that this group would finally get the attention they need and deserve. And along those lines, I think I was right. Scorecard earlier. There were lots of articles and reports published around challenges that managers are facing, but coverage didn't necessarily result in solutions. So while 2024 was the year that managers got some much needed attention, 2025 will be the year they break. 2/3 of frontline managers are just making it up as they go. 40% are burned out on a daily basis. They're asking for more help and they're just not getting it. They're the most important people in the workplace. And this year, we're going to start to see the impact. We're going to see more people walk away because they just can't do this anymore. And the people coming from behind them that are filling in those roles are not going to be ready to take over or fill in the gap that some managers have been filling and crutching the organization for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Hopefully, this will cause companies to put some additional investment into their managers, including everything from more training to increasing labor hours so managers can focus on running the business instead of just being the highest paid employee. And when it comes to L&D's role, we can't fix this on our own, but we rely on managers to support L&D initiatives. If we don't have engaged, empowered, capable managers working with us, we can't be successful. So we need to shine a spotlight on the challenges managers face and make every effort to provide whatever help we can. And sometimes this just means making sure that we're not adding complexity to the manager's job by disrupting the operation with training requests, or maybe adding extra tasks to their already overflowing lists. And L&D also needs to take a hard look at our management programs and make sure we're focused on topics that are going to help people solve meaningful problems today and provide tools and learning opportunities that actually fit the day-to-day realities that managers face. Not the expected day, not the perfect day, the real day that managers face. Because if managers are already working 50, 60, 70 hours just to get the job done, what are the chances they're going to find time for their own development? So we need to fit our support into their workflow, even if that means making some big shifts from structured training programs to focus more on on-demand performance support and short-form resources that fit into moments that managers have available in their typical day. I know a 30-minute webinar once a month doesn't sound like a lot. It is for people doing this kind of job, especially right now. And I had hoped that 2024 would be the year that organizations woke up to the critical role managers play and the struggles they've faced, especially since the pandemic. But what has always been a difficult job has turned into an almost intolerable experience for a lot of people. And I think more organizations are going to feel that, the results of inaction in 2025, and hopefully take the steps needed to fix the problem rather than kicking the can down the road while pushing for more and more efficiency. But I guess we'll see on that one, as well as my entire list of predictions for 2025. So like I said, I think I did a pretty good job for 2024 predictions. Let's see how I do this year. So I'll be back 12 months from now, December 2025, with my updated scorecard and new predictions for 2026. But until then, let me know, what do you think about my predictions for L&D in 2025? Let me know. The easiest place to do that's on LinkedIn, where I'm always sharing new content, new ideas, and of course, job postings in my feed. You can also find me online at learngeek.co. Until then, thanks again for hanging out. Thanks for everything you do to help the people that you support in your organizations do their best every day. Let me know how I can help in 2025 and beyond. Be well and happy holidays. Bye, everybody.